Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. It's me, Gilliam Van Dodge, actor, director, demigod, reminding you to drink sovereign coffee.
Hello all and welcome back to the Movie Scramble podcast. I am your host Thomas. I have managed to relinquish control of John and Mary, who have been taking turns to host the last few weeks. Mary isn't with us tonight, but John is with us. How are you, John?
Yes, I'm here, and that's about as much as I can possibly say. I think surviving more than anything else at the moment, so it's all good, let's face it.
We're week 9 into the lockdown and John's cheery enthusiasm and optimistic demeanour is starting to take its toll. We have a special episode of the Movie Scramble podcast. We have two very special guests for you on tonight's episode to discuss their new film, Wednesday in Space. We have director Hudson Hughes and lead actress Bella Norris. How are both of you doing?
I'm good.
Not bad.
Yeah, surviving as well. Spent 3 hours in the shops this morning, which was fun.
Do you know there's one thing about the shops I'm starting to quite like? I'm enjoying this one-way system they have.
No, it's stressful. What if you forget something? Oh, it's even stressful for me. I'm like, I forgot rice. That's it. Can't go back now. Just haven't bought rice.
Yeah. Just don't look back. Move on.
It's definitely made me a more efficient shopper, to be fair, because I am like that. And I feel like I've been forced to go in with a list and be prepared.
I actually had a clipboard with me today because I was buying for like 5 people. Yeah.
I've found that it's quite frustrating with the one-way system because you end up having to go around all the aisles. I mean, who needs to get cat litter when you don't have a cat, you know? But you have to pass through it anyway. It's not much fun.
It's true.
And thanks for tuning in to our new podcast, Shopper Scramble. You hear us discuss
Yeah, should we just talk about that instead?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and yeah, it was quite interesting. It was quite funny. To me, it had a sort of League of Gentlemen meets Red Dwarf style to it.
Yeah, I got the same sort of vibe off it. It's very heavy on the comedy and obviously using a lot of sci-fi as well. Yeah, really enjoyed it. It was a good intro to the film, I think. So it'll probably entice quite a lot of people to watch it.
I suppose the big question is, where did this idea stem from? Where did this first originate?
I was literally talking to some friends about that a couple of days ago because I was like, oh god, I bet they're going to ask me that. I think before doing sort of filmmaking, I'd done quite a few sort of stage shows and stage comedy. So I think the actual style of comedy definitely comes from stuff I've done on stage. So generally sort of more larger than life stuff. But I think, I had the idea of doing a stage show which was set in space and using sort of funny, making it very low budget as well, and kind of using funny things for props and using like glow sticks for lasers and stuff like that. Yeah, and then a lot of this film, it revolves around, there's like loads of weird TV adverts in this universe and stuff like that. And that mainly came from an animated project I was doing before, which then I had to sort of put on hold because I was like, this is just, it's just too much. And I had been working on this animated project for months. And then I sort of was like, right, how much is it going to cost me to complete this animation? And I sort of broke it down and realized the amount of money I'd need. And I was like, well, I could just make a feature film with that much and just go down a similar vein of using these weird, zany TV adverts, but with a central plot as well that sort of runs through the whole film.
We went to university together and I did a lot of theatre at uni, mainly musical theatre. And Ben just approached me and said, do you want to be in the film? And we'd done a short film together a few months before, which we did in a day, and it was very intense and crazy and fun, also a comedy. I was just so flattered to be asked both times. I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a fun thing to do. So yeah, that was a few months before we actually did filming, and we shot it in the stuff I did was definitely shot in 6 days, but it feels like it was the whole summer that we did it because it was just 6 such intense days. But yeah, it was just, he asked and I was like, this sounds like it's going to be a cool, fun time. And it was a cool, fun time.
So how quickly did the film come together? You obviously said that you had a budget in place. Now, usually that is the most difficult thing to get in place in the first instance, actually having a wee bit of money to actually do the project. So how did that all come about, and how long did it take you between coming up with the initial concept and then actually the cameras rolling?
When did I ask you, Bella? I can't remember. That was I hadn't finished the script by then. I know
It was
that.
probably about a year ago. Like it was about this time last year, because we were still. I was definitely still finishing my degree, so it was around then. And I was like, "Why are you asking me now? I'm writing a dissertation." But, yeah, probably around then.
Yeah, so I think I probably had the idea around Easter. So it was a very quick turnaround in terms of. I think I probably had the idea a lot earlier. I can't remember when, but then actually started writing it as an idea around Easter, and I'd written most of the script in the space of like a month or something. And in terms of the money, I had the idea, hey, I'm going to spend $1,000 of this. And that was $1,000 of my own money that I'd sort of saved up and was otherwise going to spend on another film. And then things always cost more than you expect. And that's even with, we got a lot of stuff for free. Like we built the whole set out of chipboard, which we kindly got from a Construct Scenery Ltd, which they construct film sets essentially, and that was for it was an Anthony Hopkins film, Father. So the chipboard used in our film had originally been used on the film Father. So that's the closest our film comes to stardom.
Whoa.
Sorry, Bella.
All right, thanks.
I suppose I'm taking it for granted that obviously you know the film, me and John have seen the trailer, but how would you describe the plot of the movie?
I'll let Bella go first.
Oh no. If this feels like a test, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a murder mystery, but also very much not a murder mystery because there's so many other things going on. It's almost, and I think that the nature of it with having all of the different adverts in it kind of almost makes it feel quite sketch show like, which I think is really cool. And when I was watching it was really fun because I hadn't seen any of the adverts before, so I really enjoyed that. But I think it's definitely quite like zany and sci-fi and funny, but also with quite a like compelling plot woven into all of the like gimmicky adverts.
I've written that all down. We're going to put that on the blurb of the DVD. That's
thank you.
the synopsis. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I think describing it as kind of sketch-like is that's probably a good way of describing it. I mean, in terms of the actual plot, it's set in a diner that's floating in space, and a mysterious figure at the beginning of the film is who. I mean, this isn't giving too much away because it happens in the first couple of minutes, but who kind of is set up to, you think they're going to be the main character, and then they get brutally murdered in the toilet, and you don't know who did it. And then basically the film is the staff of this restaurant trying to hide the fact that there's a dead body in the toilet from rat exterminators and health inspectors. And then Bella's character turns up, who is a traffic cop in space, and she finds the body and decides that she's going to try and play detective essentially.
So how do you prepare yourself for being a traffic cop in space then?
I did a lot of we did a 4 a.m. I think it was. I was sat on a green screen box in the dark outside pretending I was sitting on top of my like traffic cop car. And I feel like that really, the tiredness that I was exuding was very definitely very reminiscent of that was a memorable moment.
yeah that was, we had one very late night, but I think that's one thing. I like, because we shot it in such a short period of time, and I knew that I couldn't and really didn't want to ask people to stay any longer when I'm not paying them. This was like all the budget went into building the set, getting the costumes, things like that. And so to have a group of, it was 20 people. Like if I look at the actual cast and crew of everyone who helped out, it's 25 to 30 people. But sort of day to day, there was probably 15 people on average. So yeah, obviously it meant I wanted to condense it into the shortest amount of time possible. So it meant that we did have to do quite long days, and just relied on really good actors like Bella, who just knew their lines and would just do it straight away. So that's good.
What kind of challenges did you find in making the movie?
Well, I guess the general thing that I'd never directed a feature before, it was suddenly like a lot to take on. I think one of the biggest challenges was having spent a month constructing the set. It was mostly just me and Ben, the other producer, who were building the set for most of that month. We had various people sort of pop in and out. But when a lot of the cast, you came on the Sunday, didn't you, Bella? I think.
Yeah, I think I helped build some of the set on the last day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, because it wasn't really ready.
Yeah, there was quite a few of us. But like the finishing touches, you guys have definitely done all of the hard work. I think I stuck like vinyl stickers onto the like surfaces of things to make it look shiny.
Yeah, I think sort of the first day of shooting was 50% shooting, 50% building set, which is quite entertaining, seeing people in full costume, duct taping pipes to the wall and stuff like that.
Did you record a making of as you were going along? Because that could be some quite interesting footage there.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. I was just thankful I had some good crew who were thinking about stuff like that, because I was so just, in the zone of being director and producer and going like, right, you do that, you do that. And people are like, oh, are you recording behind the scenes? And I just don't have time. But luckily, we had a couple of good people. Kate, who's kind of our publicist, she got a lot behind the scenes there. And we got some, quite funny stuff. I think probably for me, one of the most notable things is Finn Murphy, one of the actors, who had to be painted blue every day. And the thing is the first day he was painted blue, I think that was 3 days in or something. His shot was meant to happen like mid-afternoon, but because of problems and so on hadn't turned up, we had to rearrange, and it kept getting pushed later and later and later in the day until I think it was like the last shot of the day. And it wasn't even his scene. He was in the background of the scene. And then I was speaking to Anand, the assistant director, and I was like, I'm so tired, but we've got to do this scene just for Finn. And then Anand was like, yeah, but it also would be really funny if we didn't. And he was just painted blue for a whole day for no reason.
Bella, with regards to your director, how did you find working with him? As your director, what's sometimes classed as an actor's director, or is he more involved in the process rather than how the actors, in the way that some directors get fully involved with an actor and others just say, go and do your stuff, go and act?
I think it was a good mixture, and I think that was because of the nature of how we were filming it, because it was very hands-on from everyone to get everything done. And from building the set to a couple of times I jumped behind a camera I didn't know how to use, because that was just like the nature of it. But I think that because Ben was very much busy with directing the whole thing and making sure that everything was happening, that when it got to sort of like, oh, I'm in this scene, it was kind of a nice combination of, okay, here are the logistics, you need to be here, here and here, and then kind of quite concise, concise changes to make sort of on the fly whilst we were shooting. And I think that, I don't know, I think that just sort of worked. I felt it worked for me. I don't know how the other actors felt, but I quite liked that sort of having it kind of being quite on the fly, bouncing off kind of almost like acting relationship. And I'd basically only done theatre before I've worked with Ben. So I think all of the three or 4 film things that I've done in the last year. Ben's directed 3 of them. So I think at this point we're quite, I don't know, it works quite well.
I think actually I should say at this point, when she's saying Ben, she means me rather than
Yeah,
producer.
sorry, I keep forgetting.
Don't worry.
I'd be saying Hudson, sorry.
No, because Hudson's my middle name, which I use for filming, just to clear that up.
Sorry, I'm using your real name.
The name that everyone calls me. Yeah, but it's actually quite useful using the name Hudson as well, because it's super confusing because the other producer's called Ben as well.
There's so many Bens.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bens actually. It's too many Bens. That was very nice. Thank you, Bella.
You're welcome.
What you don't see is the gun that's just off her head.
Yeah.
If you want, you can answer that question again, and I'll just cut Hudson from the chat, and you can speak more freely. And, and kind of just following on from that, and especially in light of the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, it's got a very sketch show type feel to the movie. Was there a lot of room for ad-libbing? Just kind of
it's supposed to be. I think that for me personally, I am. If I can remember the script, I've stuck to the script. But I know that we definitely had a lot of people from improv backgrounds. So Ben will probably be able to ask. Hudson will probably be able to answer that better.
I think it really depended on the character. With Bella, especially because her character was so central to the film, I think I was a bit more sort of specific. And it's especially hard with comedy because when you're directing, it's this thing that you don't want to... If a director says something and you had a different idea in your mind, you don't want to tell the actor, no, say it exactly like this. Because it's like, you've got to respect their craft. But then it's really hard with comedy because sometimes someone might not actually get the intonation that you were planning for that joke. So sometimes you do need to actually say, now would you leave the pause there and here just to make the joke work, essentially. So it's sort of, trying to find that balance. And I think, that's something in future films where, have a larger budget and more time, I'd like to be more of like an actor's director where I can actually spend time going through the character rather than going, Bella, go learn your lines, I'm hammering this into a wall or something like that.
So Hudson, what are your influences and inspirations behind becoming a director in the first place? Obviously you mentioned theatre work, but what was your inspirations from a sort of younger age?
I think a lot of people have watched this film and said they thought of Monty Python, and definitely, like, it wasn't really an intended influence, but I can remember watching Life of Brian when I was like, I don't know, 10 or something like that, and just not being able to breathe. I was laughing so hard. And so for me, I think it was, watching stuff like The Holy Grail and just watching that and being like, I would have loved to make that film just because they're just running about in the woods wearing these ridiculous knights costumes with people with coconuts behind them. And just, definitely I can think of Monty Python and a lot of sort of British comedy. And then on the sort of film side, I've always been a massive fan of sort of Wes Anderson. And then a lot of animated movies. I really love sort of Aardman stuff. And I think a lot of the comedy that I write tends to actually be slightly, as in a lot of the films I write would work as animations as well, I think, because I think animations tend to have like a certain style of comedy where you can be a bit more zany and stuff like that, and have a forgiving audience. So I think a lot of animated comedies.
I think that I found that with acting in theatre, there's so much of the process and so much of the time. And I don't know, maybe it's because of the nature of filming and the time constraints that we've had. It's kind of like thrown in and a lot quicker. And I think from that, I mean, I've always loved doing Wednesday in Space. Was really fun because it was kind of like a sketch show. And I've always loved like Saturday Night Live and like sketch shows and stuff like that. And I've not really been a massive on improv, but every time I've kind of found myself doing it or doing something that is of that nature, I've really enjoyed it. So I think that maybe I drew some sort of like subconscious inspiration from like sketch comedy actors and stuff. I have a lot of people that I admire, so maybe I do draw off them, particularly the cast of Saturday Night Live, I think.
As Bella was saying before, like we were talking about improv, that's something I did quite a lot of when at university. And there's quite a few people in the film who were sort of people I did improv with and stuff like that. So there was definitely making a comedy made a lot of sense because a lot of the actors had performed comedy on stage before. And I think performing comedy on stage it's the sort of ultimate democratic art form. Because if it's not funny, people don't laugh. If you send someone like a link to a video you made, they can lie to you. They can send you a message to say, "Oh yeah, no, I found that funny." Whereas like if you're on stage, if they don't laugh, they didn't find it funny. So we used a lot of sort of comedy theatre actors who had been through the terrors of comedy on stage. Bella's also a very good director as well, actually. You did a musical last year, which was we ended up using several people who acted in that musical, thinking about it, and even Nick Ong, who plays the character Mr. Yim in this, like the character he played in that musical. After I watched the musical, I just went, "Oh my god, I can completely see him as this certain character with the type of voice he was doing." So I basically just ripped the character out of that musical and stuck him in a restaurant in space.
As you do.
So, film's completed. You're starting to publicise it. What's the reception been like so far?
Good. You know, we've had a bit of success from some film festivals and things. That's still sort of happening at the moment. And I think I've kept it fairly under wraps. You know, we've got stuff sort of coming on the way. We just Bella doesn't know this, but we just got into another film festival actually. The Tokyo Liftoff, which obviously isn't happening now, which is a bit of a disappointment. The fact that we can't really go to any of these festivals, but some of them are still running online, so we'll see. There's a sneaky way of seeing Wednesday in Space early. But yeah, we're sort of, plodding along. We're planning to release the trailer at the beginning of next month. Depending on what happens with the cinemas, hopefully actually seeing the film in some cinemas in sort of November, December time.
So have you got other projects lined up for after this one, or is it you concentrating in this at the moment?
No, this is the end of filmmaking. I think, I've been talking to a couple of people about another feature project, which would be that would be a while away. That would be sort of half a year away before we really started planning it. We're planning to shoot not a trailer for it, but also almost sort of a proof of concept for it in a couple of months' time. Just because I don't want to reveal anything, but it's fairly VFX laden. Short answer, yeah, I do have stuff in the works, a couple of short films plus this feature project that we might try and sort of kickstart next year or something like that, depending on where things are.
For yourself, Bella, do you have any other acting roles in the pipeline or directing roles?
No, not really. I do have a day job. That's my normal thing. To be honest, acting is more of a thing now that I finished uni that I do sort of on the side. Basically, when Hudson messages me and asks, do you want to do this short film? I go, yeah, sure. This is the weekend I'm free, and then do it. And so, yeah, and I do some community theatre and stuff because that's what I enjoy, which obviously is all not happening right now because of lockdown, but hopefully when it's all released I'll be able to get back out there again.
You gonna wipe your ass with the same hands you kiss your kids with? No! How much to spend on toilet paper every year? Do you know?
Where can we find you both on social media, and where can we find information on the film?
Yes, I mean, I've got loads of. So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on Hudson Hughes Films. I post quite a few sketches and things like that. I'm still managing to do that during lockdown. And then, yeah, we've got a website, WednesdayInSpace.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for that as well. And we're posting daily on that in the process of sort of, taking it to the cinema. So come join our journey there. Oh God, that sounds so. That's the publicist in me with preparing all these press packs and stuff like that.
There's some fun stuff on the socials, on the Wednesday in Space socials, like little behind the scenes videos and things.
Yeah, we've got some good videos. And I'll be sort of releasing. We've got quite a nice poster, which I'm be releasing on social media in a couple of days, and then I said that we're releasing the trailer sort of the beginning of next month. There will be the sort of official trailer, and then probably a couple more trailers after that. But yeah, we are posting daily essentially to both Hudson Hughes Films and Wednesday in Space. So a lot of fun stuff there.
I'm the non-existent, the wolf among sheep, the boogeyman.
That was another episode of the Movie Scramble podcast. I really hope you enjoyed as much as we did. Big thank you to our guests, Hudson and Bella. All the best with the movie. We wish you all the success with it, and we look forward to seeing it. Regardless on social media, you can contact ourselves on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Movie Scramble. If you want to email, it's podcast. Oh no, it's not podcast. John, I get this email address wrong every time. What is it?
It is podcast@moviescramble.co.uk.
Yeah,
so you were nearly right.
I was nearly right. You can tell by John's deadpan delivery there. He's sick of me getting this wrong every single week. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed that. Remember to like and subscribe. We'll have some more episodes coming soon, including part 2 of our Hellraiser special. Good night, all.
Thanks.
Right, I think I'll start with the toilet.
No!
No to thieves! No to murderers! Say no to the Geneva Convention! This is the Smart Gun number 3 from Martax! A new, sleek design houses our most advanced weapon system yet. While other makers are crumbling to hippie pressure groups, we have maintained our classic design with its 5 patriotic settings. Stun, kill, liquefy, horrifying pain. And mustard. The Smart Gun 3 shoots plasma farther, further, and quieter, so you don't wake the kids when you dispatch an unarmed intruder. And with all that said and done, only a fucking idiot would buy a different gun. Smart Gun. You're not stupid, are you?